Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of the Kushmerek Connection. I'm very excited. Joining me this morning, we have Tom Skorowski, who is the Executive Director of Community Development and Planning with the City of Fitchburg. Now, you've been here for about 5 years in that capacity. Is that correct?
5 years in that capacity, about 7 with the city. Excellent. At large, yeah.
Well, welcome to the show, and thanks for joining me. We certainly had the chance to work together during my time on the city council, but excited now that our partnership can continue and really, in some ways, expand, and opportunity for us to really work on, everything from economic development to housing and beyond.
Absolutely, glad to have you at the State House.
Well, I wake up every morning, and I every day that you're working in the city, I'm thrilled. It's a good day for the city of Fitchburg, and I think community development and planning and housing, those are things that maybe fly under the radar, but hugely impactful part of municipal government that you've been working on. And so I'm excited for folks to hear a little bit about some of the stuff that happens behind the scenes and some of the stuff that's in the pipeline. But before we get there, I guess tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you come to the city of Fitchburg, and what brought you to this point?
So I came to the city of Fitchburg originally in 2014 through a program called the Working Cities Challenge. The Boston Fed, aside from all their work setting interest rates and fiscal policy, they started a program in the Boston area focused on gateway cities like Fitchburg and Worcester, Haverhill, Holyoke, and they looked at these sort of small to medium-sized cities that had this former really strong industrial heritage, and they looked at what made certain cities that followed that framework successful and what made the others fail. And I think what they found more than anything is it's not about proximity to a big city or a body of water or a large university presence or some type of focus industry, but what made some cities successful and others fail is really their ability to collaborate across the public, private, nonprofit sectors, but folks all across the board, not just at City Hall, collaborating. We always call it kind of rowing in the same direction. And so my job in 2014 through the Working Cities Challenge was to support the Fed's effort to build a private sector, public nonprofit coalition called Reimagine North of Main. And that's really what got me started in 2014 and was there for just a little over 3 years and then came into the city in 2017 to continue that effort. But building partnerships, working on community economic and planning efforts, but not just focused this time on the downtown, but the whole city at large. And really is an approach I've tried to model throughout the work that I do here at the city.
Yeah, that's great. I think you just hit it on the head there with collaboration too. I think all too often, I'm hearing it from members of the governor's administration and point people throughout the state legislature of, everybody wants to be a part of a winning team. And when you see those cities that don't collaborate well, and when their legislature and their legislative delegation is doing something different from the city, or the federal delegations moving in a different direction from the local, nobody wants to help there. And I think Fitchburg is a great example right now of that cross-collaborative relationship, and I think we're seeing a lot of that progress there. Of we're all aligned and we're all, as you said, rowing in the boat in the same direction. And you've seen that over the course of 8 years now in the city, and spanning a couple of different positions. And I'm curious for you, I think the criticism of government is always that it moves so slow, and it does. It feels that way sometimes from the outside looking in. But if I think for someone in your position, you've now had the opportunity to see projects that you've started in your time here that have now come to fruition, and we're seeing it benefit not only the city and the tax rolls of the city, but really benefiting residents and people's way of life. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the downtown focused work, for example, when we started in 2014, the work and partnership with the university on the theater block was just an idea back then. We sat down at a table planning for a grant that we wanted to take on, and we thought, that old theater sitting there across the street from City Hall, we need to do something about that project. And so the university in that grant application, took on the responsibility to redevelop the theater. We didn't get the grant, but we got the commitment from the university to take that on. But it wasn't just a commitment about the theater, it was a commitment that if they were to do that, the city needed to redevelop City Hall to send that important signal, to send our stake in the ground for Main Street. And then just around the corner, that commitment was made with the Art Museum and with New View Communities to reinvest in the Fitchburg Arts Community, a 66-unit artist live-work development. And all of those things, since my time starting, obviously City Hall is done and it's a beautiful building and we're happy to be there. The theater block has had the Idea Lab, which was a $3 million renovation in 2017. And since then has been putting together a package for not just the big 1,300 seat theater that a lot of folks often talk about, but a black box theater, which I'm not a theater guy, I never really knew what that meant. But ultimately it's what it sounds like. It's a big black box that will be a space for the fine arts program at the university on a near daily basis, to have really their studio, their space for fine arts and even smaller theater events. And then the storefronts themselves. So the storefronts, they're going to be redeveloping 4 storefronts starting this spring, which is great. And then they'll move into the black box theater and the larger theater to follow. But we started those conversations in 2014, and we're just getting there. And it's, City Hall, we're able to see it through. The Fitchburg Arts Community, I suspect we're going to hear some really good news from them soon. And a lot of folks look at that building. It's been vacant for so long. What's happening? There's been so much.
This is at the site of the former B.F. Brown
exactly.
High School and Middle School.
Right across the street from the Art Museum. And, we had the fire and dealing with the insurance monies. And, of course, in your time at the City Council, we were able to get that insurance money after about a year and a half of wrangling with the insurance company, then hand that over to the New View Communities to put a new roof on the building. But of course, that's just the first step, right? And now we're working with New View on getting their financing and getting the package together to really redevelop this transformative housing development. So that's just sort of one microcosm of what we've been doing with work that you start on 6, 7, 8 years ago. You're finally seeing it through. And another great example would be the Twin City Rail Trail. The first phase will be done in March of this year. The second phase will be a few years later, but I've been working on that the whole time I've been here. And my predecessors for 15, 17 years now. So this stuff takes time, but it's rewarding to start to see it happen.
And that project, the Twin City Rail Trail, was actually conceived by our former Congressman John Oliver for a congressional seat that no longer exists in Massachusetts, correct?
Right. So you've got to go back, before Congresswoman Trahan, we, had Congresswoman Tsongas, and then there was Congressman Oliver, but again, different district altogether.
Right.
That earmark was secured, and we sat on it for a long time because all of this stuff just takes so much time to purchase the whole rail trail, to close on the deal, to work with all the abutters to make sure the process with both Leominster and Fitchburg looks the way we all want it to look as a community and as abutters and as residents. So,
well, you're doing amazing work on all of those fronts, and I think the theater, B.F. Brown, those are. We're finally starting to get that sense of a critical mass in our downtown of progress and momentum, and the old Harper Furniture store with housing and commercial development, and a diner across the street, and new restaurants coming to our downtown, and new cafes forming, and new residential experiences. And next episode we'll have Nick Pelletier from Pelletier Properties and Keller Williams North Central talking about his development on the corner of Crescent and Blossom Street, really highlighting some of the new housing opportunities and the programs that you've really helped facilitate between state and local. And that's really, for me, that's quite exciting to see. And I think we've been waiting 30 years to see this kind of growth and transformation, but it doesn't happen overnight. I think it took us the previous 30 years to get to the period that we're at now, and hopefully this is a decade of just unrivaled economic success and transformation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm as excited about Nick Pelletier's Crescent Street Townhouse project as I am about the theater block and the arts community, because those are sort of, to use a baseball analogy, those are the home runs, right?
That's right.
But to win a game, you've got to hit singles and you've got to hit doubles, and for every Theater Block and BF Brown, we have the Crescent Street townhouses, we have 805 Main Street, we have the old Fitchburg Gas and Electric building, which Dario's on Main is soon to be opening in the spring, and a number of smaller housing developments. You may have seen the announcement that 409 Main Street got funding. That was really the last funding they needed to redevelop their 4 units and commercial on the first floor, and that's right at the corner of Pritchard and Main Street. And I think
my understanding is Matt Fournier will begin construction on that soon, and like they're getting ready to move forward quite quickly.
Right. I think the goal is autumn to open up, and so those small projects excite me just as much, because I think piece by piece we're really building something here.
So, this is really one of those opportunities you spoke about, Congresswoman Trahan, just moments ago, and she and the Biden administration were successful in delivering the American Rescue Package. And, what that means at a local level is, in excess of $30 million in local, really unrestricted funding for the city to make investments in the future. What opportunities do you see that get you excited for these funds to really help continue that transformation and that onward momentum?
Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, once in a lifetime stuff. Certainly in my time in municipal government, we're always kind of scratching to get what small grants we can from the state and federal government, and now we're looking at a windfall that we're really taking the time to be deliberate and thoughtful for how we spend the $31 million we got from the feds. I've been fortunate to be the chair of the Mayor's Advisory Committee, where we're really working on setting the agenda for how to spend that money with a collaborative group of community leaders, looking at projects like the Fitchburg Public Library and that renovation, looking to support the theater block, small-scale commercial development. We're actually in the process of starting a vacant storefront initiative at the city, where we're going to take 3 vacant storefronts and convert them to code-ready developments. So again, the small stuff and the big stuff, but this investment gives us that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see it through.
Yeah, amazing opportunity. We've already seen the work that you've really helped bring to fruition these past 8 years, and I said it at really the top of this interview that every day when I wake up and you're still an employee in this city, Fitchburg is incredibly fortunate. I think the work that you've done has been noticed statewide, and I hear secretaries in the governor's administration talk about it. I hear the work that other legislators will often mention and refer to that you've been responsible for. And so I really wanted to take an opportunity and recognize the work you've done. I think often, people just see it's a municipal employee, they're just doing their job. But then there's those employees who go above and beyond to really really put their pride and 100% of their effort into their work. And I think you exemplify the very best of what it is to be a public servant. And so I have the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the House of Representatives, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Tom Skorowski in recognition of a decade of dedication to the city of Fitchburg, working to improve the lives of residents of Fitchburg and to make the city a better place to live, work, and play. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors given this 31st day of January 2022. And this was signed by the Speaker of the House, Ronald Mariano, and offered by myself. Tom, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. Much appreciated.
Absolutely.
Catch me by surprise on a Monday morning. That's so sweet.
That's the intent. And so, again, we're appreciative of everything you do, and I know the city of Fitchburg is as well. And for our folks listening in from home, stay tuned. We'll be right back up with our next guest. And we're back. Joining me now, we have a special guest, someone who's been working really behind the scenes, and I think maybe that's the theme of today's episode, are the folks who work behind the scenes tirelessly. And you've been with me now 3 semesters. You're a senior political science student, Rebecca Hess, Leominster native. I'm going to try not to hold that against you, but you've been working for Fitchburg and Lunenburg's benefit these past 3 semesters. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And you're actually responsible for the wonderful intro for this show.
Yes.
Yeah, I was expecting like a PowerPoint presentation, and you delivered, the very finest, and that should come as no surprise. Fitchburg State at its very best. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What made you decide to come to Fitchburg State, and why did you decide to study political science, and what are your interests moving forward?
Well, growing up in Leominster, like Fitchburg was always there. Like I was always coming here for events and stuff. So I knew I wanted to stay local and commute to a college. So the best thing to do was go to Fitchburg State. It was hit all the checkpoints I wanted for a university for myself. It was close to home. It was affordable for me, and I was really passionate about having small class sizes. I knew that I wanted to have good interactions with my peers and a good relationship with my professor. So I knew Fitchburg State was the right school for me.
So Fitchburg State is really known for having all of the incredible opportunities that any other global institution has. Both on and off campus, from studying to extracurriculars. And then even the chance to go abroad, and I had that opportunity when I was at Fitchburg State, and I had never left New England, and never mind to go abroad, and I had the chance to live, outside of the country and to really immerse myself in someone else's culture, and it expanded my horizons. And I don't know that I'd be here today had it not been for the opportunity that Fitchburg State gave me. And now I understand you're about to do a kind of a micro study abroad experience in the next couple of months. Tell us about it.
So when I was in high school, I had the opportunity for a week to go to Europe with my French class. So when I came to Fitchburg State, I told my professor and my advisor, Josh Sparrow, about that. So when he learned about that, he was really passionate in getting me to somehow go abroad. And so there's a lot of different propositions, I guess he gave me regarding going abroad, and because of the pandemic, a lot of them had to be shut down. But last semester, he proposed the opportunity for me and another student to be in an independent study with him regarding transatlantic ties to Poland. So because of that, we're engaging in a research project. The other student, I, and the professor are starting it, and this research project is going to go on after us too, once we graduate. So because of that, we're given the opportunity to go to Poland for a week for our spring break to interact with people my professor knows in Poland who know a lot about the culture and the history, so a lot of relevant information for our project.
Well, and I think that's really hitting home. Fitchburg State has just some incredible faculty members that just have a real depth of knowledge, and Professor Spiro is one of the world's foremost scholars on U.S. and Cold War relations, and somebody who lived in Poland, who really worked to help get their government off the ground in its early days and its infancy of democracy after the Cold War, and I think now with rising tensions in Eastern Europe around Ukraine, this is an opportunity that has never been more relevant today, and never been more important to build relationships and gain a better understanding of peoples in Eastern Europe and the importance of peoples in Eastern Europe.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So you've been working with our office. Now this is, I think you're going on the 4th semester soon, or I think we just started the 4th semester. And I guess what made you get involved, and what made you interested in local and state government? I typically don't assume that most people, they wake up in the morning as a student and they're like, I want to get involved in local government, and I think that's a rarity. I think folks are so often, they're fixated on either international relations or federal policy, that they often forget about the impact that local and state can have. Tell us a little bit about what got you interested.
So when I began my junior year, I had to start thinking about an internship because the political science major requires one. So I was given like a long list of different opportunities to pursue, and I knew I wanted to do something regarding government because, with political science, there are so many different routes you can take. So I chose your office because I was familiar with it, and I've seen a lot about your campaign before I started working in your office, so I knew staying local was something I wanted to do, as well as when I started at Fitchburg State, I started with like my concentration in international politics. So state and local government wasn't something I'd ever interacted with before. So that was another side of politics that I wanted to get familiar with. And I thought there was no better way than to like be on the grounds and work with people in cities to understand how the government works better.
Well, you've been doing some incredible work, and I think once again, there's interns from so many different universities, some of those global institutions, working in legislative offices all over the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
And it is so rare that other legislators can say about their interns what I'm able to say about my Fitchburg State interns, which is that I can hand them complex policy, sometimes, a 20, 30-page piece of legislation and say, I need a one-page briefing and I need it in the next, 2 hours. And you not only deliver it, you deliver it in a way that I think most professionals working in the building couldn't do in that same time frame and with that same depth and detail.
Yeah.
So,
well, I can say the same because for me, like I know a lot of other people who do internships as well. I'm given like different opportunities than most internships are. Like for example, I follow you to like many events that you go to, and when I go to those, I'm the only intern there. So because of that, like I understand, like I'm really like grateful and lucky for those opportunities because I'm getting to experience like things that people in my position might not otherwise. So I think that's like a really cool aspect of it.
Well, I mean, it's it's always helpful for me to have an intern who can actually help us move forward. But at the end of the day, it's really focused on your educational experience and making sure that you're prepared for those next steps and that you're ready for the real world, if you will. Speaking of which, it's impending at this point. You'll be graduating this. I think it's pretty comfortable to say you'll be graduating.
Yes, I can confirm that.
This May. So where does the path lead next?
Well, when I started at Fitchburg State with political science as my major, I didn't really like know where I wanted to go. A lot of people would ask me like, oh, what do you want to do for your job? And I'm like, I don't really know, but like I'll figure it out later. But doing this internship, it taught me that I perform best regarding like legislative research, and as another thing I can be passionate about is constituent services. So because of doing those things the past year, I want to continue a career regarding those, and I think that like the stuff I've learned in this internship, I could have never learned like just in like a regular class or something. So it's very good knowledge to have, and I'm really excited to like go into the future and hopefully work within local city government regarding constituent services.
Now, I'm delighted to hear that because I think all too often. Like we discussed, there is that fixation and focus on, either international or federal. And the reality is, I think the vast majority of interaction between constituents and government really occur at that local and state level.
Yeah.
We saw it in our first year, and you were there for all of it. It was, more than 1,200 different pieces of constituent contact, whether it's over legislative advocacy, whether it's over constituent services and requests for help for anything from unemployment to housing, RMV help, you name it. We've seen it all, right? And there really is so much need for that, and people who are passionate about it. It's not always the easiest work, and some of these issues are complex. And to have someone who's really passionate about that work, it's we need more of it in our field, not just in my office, but across every legislative office in the Commonwealth. And so I'm excited to hear that you want to continue to get involved, and I think that's the benefit. And I think folks are always questioning, whether it's a state university or a private institution in their own backyard. Is it worth it to have a university, in particular a public university, in their backyard? And do the pros outweigh the cons? And I can say emphatically, the answer is always yes. And I think it gets me excited to think that there are young individuals who care deeply about the community that they're either living in or studying in, and looking to get more involved and to get more invested in the community. And I think there's that opportunity of not just to bring a student here for 4 years to get the education, but an opportunity to get somebody really invested, emotionally and physically invested right here in the city and in the region. And you're doing exactly that. So I'm excited about your opportunities in local government and in state government, and looking to see you continue to grow not only in this role throughout the rest of this semester, but in your career beyond. So, Rebecca, thank you for everything you've done for our office, and thanks for shedding a little bit of light on the Fitchburg State internship process and all of the opportunities that get you involved as a student and into the community.
Of course, thank you.
And to our viewers at home, stay tuned for episode 6. Next episode, we'll have City Council President Anthony Zarella and local developer Nick Pelletier. In the meantime, stay warm and stay tuned.